Hey everybody, welcome back to I Told My Wife I'm Paying Bills. I'm Slim.
And I'm Black. July 2024. We are back.
We are back. Yes. All right. So our last episode got jumbled. In between our two episodes, we had a bonus episode because of the Xbox showcase. So if you listen to our last couple episodes out of order, sorry about that, everybody. But we really wanted to go ahead and get that Xbox showcase episode out, and that showcase was amazing, by the way. We were really excited about that, and I really still can't wait to play some of those games. This episode, we got this special episode coming to y'all, and it's basically talking about the Chappelle Show. So, Dave Chappelle, for those who don't know, Dave Chappelle, comic, but I mean, anyone who doesn't know who Dave Chappelle is, I would be really surprised, but he's a comedian, and actor. Dude is amazing. That's the only way I can put it, because he's like so hilarious, and he's so slick and so smart with what he does. Like dude was on some political stuff and dropping his political, and remember now, I don't drop the political stuff at all. However, he actually was dropping little tidbits of political stuff for years, and the way he does things is so smooth. So I hit Black up. I was like, dude, let's talk about the Chappelle Show. He was all for it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. Tell me your thoughts right now before we get into it. Just tell me your thoughts on the Chappelle Show, like when it first came out and all that. Like how much about Dave Chappelle did you know starting out?
Well, I
Like
knew about
before
Dave
the Chappelle
Chappelle.
Show.
Oh, yeah, I knew about Dave Chappelle way before the Chappelle Show. I knew about him. I mean, everybody knows the famous, how can I say, I'm going to say marijuana movie, Half Baked. If you didn't see Half Baked, I mean, you definitely got to go back and check it out. But
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's not even the first movie I saw him in.
Mm.
I remember Dave Chappelle from all the way back, and I forgot what the name of the movie was. I'm not even going to speculate. I'm not going to use that time. But let's just talk about Half Baked and what that was. It was a hilarious movie. A lot of guys that he had in Half Baked, he actually has in his show. So yeah, it was awesome. Chappelle Show was revolutionary. So that's my take on that at that time.
Yeah. So and also before I forget, I did announce it the last I think it was the X-Men episode, or it was the Xbox Showcase episode. But I actually did announce that we do have a producer. Chris, go ahead and say what's up. Don't worry.
Greetings and what's up? How y'all doing today?
All right, yeah. So Chris is actually going to be helping us in the background and behind the scenes. So he's actually helping us out with information and things like that. That if we were trying to look up on air, it would be like dead air. So Chris has agreed to help us out with that. So thanks, Chris. Black Chris actually gave us some information about the movies. Was the movie Robin Hood Men in Tights or Con Air that
it
you
was Robin Hood Men in Tights? And
yeah.
I should have, being that I knew it was Robin Hood, but I forgot exactly what the rest of it was. And,
right.
I didn't want to ask you. It's a Robin Hood movie he was in, but yeah, Men in Tights. He was pretty hilarious in that too.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember the oldest movie that I saw him, because I feel like I saw him in a movie before, because he also played the comic like Reggie in what is the name? The Nutty Professor. He played Reggie in that one. That was hilarious. So, by the way, we're going to try to keep this podcast as PG/PG-13 as possible. But with the Chappelle Show, it's hard to. So there are a lot of words that I won't say, that I will like kind of either just kind of cut off or whatever. However, but I'm just giving everybody a warning now. With Dave Chappelle, it's hard to, but we're gonna try and do this best as we can, because I still haven't found a way to beep out and things yet. But anyway, when they were talking about his hair, that was an iconic scene, like where he was in the comedy club, And when Dave Chappelle saw the Nutty Professor, Eddie Murphy's character, Sherman Klump, he saw him, in the nightclub. He was actually joking on him. He had the high top, not the high top, but he had like the big hat on and all that stuff like that. And so, and so he was actually talking to Eddie Murphy and joking on Eddie Murphy when he was fat. So then when Eddie
Mhm.
Murphy took the potion and he was skinny, he came back to the comedy club to get his revenge. And
That was
then,
hilarious.
and yeah, that was so hilarious because he was talking to, he was just like, all right, now I got to karate-size your, and then he took his hat off. And then Eddie Murphy was laughing even more because instead of dreadlocks, he had these little
Yeah.
weird little plaits, and he was calling them, like poop locks. And that's the way I
Yeah.
would say, So that's one of the first movies that came to mind. But I'm almost positive that I've seen him in something before that. So, either way, I do know though. I've seen Dave Chappelle, and we've probably seen him in well older movies, like movies well older than that. So, but that leading that into it, after that, then Half Baked came. He became more of a celebrity, and with Half Baked, he and his writing partner decided to come up with the Chappelle Show. And I say with Half Baked, and it wasn't really with Half Baked, but it was partially because of Half Baked. Like that helped to propel him to actually get the show.
Mhm.
And that show in general was just iconic. There's no other way to put it because it had a major cultural significance. It was poignant because the things that it put out, it talked about racism. It talks about racial stereotypes. He excessively used the N-word throughout the whole series. I mean, he had black people and white people saying it. He actually used it with the hard R instead of the GA. He used it ER, hard ER, because in some of his skits it required that.
Mm.
And at the time, what's so funny about it is because the series premiered in 2003, on January 22nd, 2003. At that time, something like that could drop with no issues, It
Mhm.
dropped, and when I say no issues, he still had issues because people were like, "Oh man, you're towing the line," and all this other stuff they were saying. As a matter of fact, he even actually mentioned that in a couple of episodes. He was like, "I'm surprised when I canceled yet." Excuse me.
I
There was like
remember that.
many episodes where he actually said something about being canceled. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get canceled," and this and that. But in that time period, he was able to put this out without any other problems and run it, and people, and I'm just saying like this, people loved the show, meaning white people, black people, Hispanic,
Mhm.
Asians, all these, it was that show actually brought us together because I specifically remember when it was out, you know, um, talking to people like Chris, talking to different people about the show, and I think at this time we were working in two different places at this time. This was I want to say '03. So yeah, no, we were working together at Canada, I believe. Because my daughter was small. So anyway, um, you know, this show would come out and people love this show. All kind of people all over. This show it just touched people because of the stereotypes that it made comical. But the reason why he did this was to actually bring it to the forefront. And like I said, he's a very political person without being overly political, And he was really so smooth with it that you didn't even know that you were being taught a lesson. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
throughout some of his skits, he was really teaching us lessons about how absurd some of our culture is. and you were just too busy laughing. And then when you watch it again, that's when you probably would have noticed something else, So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So what we're gonna do is, we're gonna go over some of our favorite skits, but you know, I do want to say that it was really kind of I don't know, it's just so funny that like I said, um a lot of people, they they really, at the time when it came out, a lot of people had so much negative stuff to say, but it wasn't as massive as it would have been today. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of things he could actually say, he was just like just saying what we all wanted to say for the most part. But like I said, today, if this show came out today, it would be canceled. It would be so much, there would be so much going on, because he also not only joked about racial stuff, he also joked about sexuality, and it's almost like you can't do that now. So it was actually pretty cool. And one of the major things is, instead of like acting out the sketches, a lot of these sketches, like instead of acting out the sketches like in Saturday Night Live, it was pre-recorded sketches, but the actual audience was there watching it with him. And then he actually says, like it was so funny too, because some of these times when he was actually introducing some of these sketches, he'd be like, "Yeah, so and this didn't happen." He was like, "Look, take a look," and then you look,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he's talking about something with Oprah or something like that, or it was one of them. He was like, "Yeah, this happened, and take a look." Oh, one key aspect of it, and it's going to be talking about one of the episodes you brought up, the Wayne Brady episode. He was like, when we hung out, he was like, "Nah, I don't like
Mm-hmm.
when we hanging out with you." He was like, "Look what happened last time we hung out," and then the audience would go and look on the screen, and
Yep.
then that shows. So, um, but for this show, for the short run it had, meaning short run, meaning it had 2 full seasons, an abbreviated third season. It only ran from '03 to '06. This show had such a major impact. So, like I said, we're gonna go ahead and go into some of our favorite skits on these shows. So, Black, we're gonna start with you. What was some of your favorite skits? Go ahead and start with with like your first one of your favorite skits.
Well, I mean, I will have to go with the I think it's first season, one of the first couple shows that he had. One of the first couple of episodes that he had was the Wrap It Up box, and that was too funny. That was too funny because there was so many scenarios he he used that
Yeah.
skit for. You had the one part where the guy, the Puerto Rican dude, his
Mhm.
homeboy from Half Baked, he was in there, he was in court, and the judge is giving him all this information about his sentence. And he's like, "Man, the sign is simple, B. I think you need to wrap it up." And everybody
Yeah.
just goes crazy in the courtroom. And the judge is like, "Order in the court," and he uses the gavel and bangs on the desk or whatnot. He says, "Man, you need to wrap that gavel up, B.
Yeah.
Wrap it up, B." You know?
It's his name is like Guillermo something. And I'm trying to remember what his actual his last name is, but it's the same dude that was like you said, Half Baked, and it was Half Baked, and it was Guillermo Diaz. Thanks, Chris. Guillermo Diaz from he was also in Major, what people know him as Huck from I believe Huck it was his name from Scandal. So yeah, but either way, we all know him from Half Baked, and that was hilarious. I love that, the whole wrap it up, B,
Yeah,
yo, wrap
wrap
it
it
up.
up.
Yeah. But
You
and,
know?
and it's so funny about that skit too, because they actually had another skit like in that I see neither of us actually put this down. Um, there was a small skit about what would happen in real life, and he actually had the Half Baked crew in real life. It was him and Jim Brewer and
Oh
and
yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Guillermo,
yeah. I remember
and
that.
then they was
Yeah.
just like, yeah, well, this would happen if Half Baked happened in real life, and then they was like, yo, man, Kenny's been arrested. And they was
Yeah.
like, he's like, you want to cut weed? And he was like, nah, let's just get high. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, let's get high. And then he was like, F Kenny B.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So he actually had him and Jim Brewer in a couple of skits. So that was a trip. Yes,
Yeah.
I love the Wrap It Up box, and and it was too funny too because there was a point in there where he was with his wife.
Man, I was just about to say that one.
Yeah, he was with his wife, and his wife used the wrap it up box on him too.
Yeah, they're getting it on, or
Mhm.
whatnot, and he says, not even close. She said, not even close.
Not you.
You need to wrap it up.
Yeah, no, that was too hilarious. So let me go into one of mine. And this is one of the major ones. And see, I try not to pick the major ones so you could actually kind of go into your thoughts on the major ones. But I had to start off with Charlie Murphy's True Hollywood Stories. Oh my gosh. So these Charlie Murphy stories, man, they were amazing because like they became so iconic that actually it kind of pissed Dave off a little bit. So like well the two major stories that he told was the Prince one and the Rick James one.
Mm-hmm.
The Rick James one has that iconic line, "I'm Rick James," with the B word. and and because of that, so many people were saying it. People actually were walking up to him and actually saying that to him on the street, and he actually said something about it on the show about people walking up to him and saying it. People were actually doing it during his shows, and that would piss him off. And the one thing about Dave Chappelle is, over all this acting stuff and everything like that, he loves being a comedian over all of that. And people doing that messed it up for him, and that was so sad. I was a little upset about that, and he actually talked about it. That was put on, in news stories and things like that. That was kind of messed up, but I could say, like people ruined it, but there was probably a whole bunch of other things that happened behind the scenes that we don't know that probably ruined the Chappelle Show for everyone. So, but anyway, the Charlie Murphy True Hollywood Stories. So, it goes in for those who haven't seen it. And I'm going to say it like this. For anyone who hasn't seen the Chappelle Show, just please pause the podcast and go and watch it. You can watch it on Netflix, and I think it's on Paramount right now. So the Hollywood Stories were so amazing because basically Charlie Murphy is Eddie Murphy's brother. Eddie Murphy would actually take him out and go partying and stuff like that. So this is how he actually met Rick James, and he actually met Prince. So was partying with Eddie Murphy. So during these episodes, he actually talked about Rick James and how Rick James was a habitual line crosser, and I actually use that phrase now, habitual line crosser, somebody who constantly crosses their line. And so it was so funny that different things that he talked about Charlie Murphy, he walked into Charlie Murphy and and Rick James would smack him. Rick James coming into Eddie Murphy's house and throwing his shoes on the couch. F your couch.
Oh my gosh.
That was hilarious. So, and then he talked about Prince. He talked about, like, even though Prince is basically known as being eccentric about certain things, everyone knows Prince was an awesome baller. And Prince could for lack of a better word, one of the few cuss words I'm going to use here is Prince could ball his ass off. So this is exactly what Charlie Murphy said. And he was like, look, I ain't saying this for clout. He's like, I'm saying it. I'm true. He's like, you ever get the chance to ball with Prince? Do it. He's like, you see what I'm talking about. So that episode, truly amazing. Like, like,
what do you say?
Go ahead.
What do you say? This the shirts versus the blouses?
Yes. He was just like, he's like, all right, well, we're gonna play shirts versus blouses. And then at the end, when Prince does that final duck. Oh, by the way, too, during these skits, Charlie Murphy himself was talking, and he would actually act in these skits that were pre-recorded. Well, Dave Chappelle actually played these two characters. He played Rick James, and he played Prince. So it's so funny that, because then, like, when he did that dunk, he did that. Dave Chappelle did the dunk as Prince. Dave Chappelle, did the dunk, and he was just like, game, blouse. And then he's like, and then you hear somebody off camera And they was just like, so what happened after that? He was like, nothing. He took us inside and served us pancakes. And then they showed Dave Chappelle
He
serving
said
them
pancake.
pancakes. That and apparently that story about Prince had been circulating for many years. And I didn't know about it until I saw it on that True Hollywood Story. But
I never
that,
knew it was a actual story. I
mhm.
always thought, it originated with the Chappelle Show. I didn't know that was a rumor.
No, that was apparently that was a real story that had been going on for a good while. So that's actually really funny that it happened that way. So go ahead and tell me your next your favorite skit that you had.
Yeah, I'm looking at number 2. Oh yeah, is I'm sorry, I got to pause. I just happened to read it on my phone right now. Just the
Uh,
name of it just
oh,
made me laugh. Trading spouses,
yeah, I got you. I got you.
trading spouses. Where you got the modern day black guy. He
Yeah,
goes and into the he has the white wife and the modern day white guy. He goes to the with the black family, and
right. Yeah,
it was funny as hell.
yeah. Oh man, and the funniest part about that was it was both of those characters were played by Dave Chappelle. He
Hmm.
played I forgot what the white character's name, and then this is something else that I have to say too. Dave Chappelle played whiteface in that show,
Hmm.
and almost everybody who watched it didn't care. Almost
Oh,
everybody who watched it. Of course, like I said, there was people who were upset about it, but it's all good. But I don't remember what the white character's name was. I think it might have been Tom. It might not have been. I don't remember. But he also played a white news reporter. But for that show, he actually also played one of his iconic characters from the show, Leonard Washington.
Leonard
That
Washington.
dude, Leonard Washington, is hilarious. He actually had another thing in there too, the World Series of Dice or something like that.
Oh
That
yeah,
was that
yeah,
was another skit.
exactly.
But
He was in the
anyway,
World Series of Dice.
yes, yes, yeah. But yeah, I love that trading spouses skit because the funny part about it was even though it was a heightened version of it, it
Mm,
wasn't that so far off of trading spouses in the real show. You know,
right, right. That's what I'm
because
saying. It was crazy.
yeah, yeah. When you watch the show and you see the families cross over and they do different things, so weird,
Mm,
like it was really crazy. And he just basically all he did was just make it a heightened, funnier version. But for the
yeah,
most part, he had a lot of material to work with there because when you see and you go into someone else's life, it is so different, way
right.
different. And what you're doing, it's like the funniest part is like the whole. If you look on social media now, there's a trend going around asking people, "What do you use to take a shower?" So you know the majority of uh of people of other races will say a washcloth, and the more majority now. I'm just going from what's been on social media. I'm not saying this is for real, but they're saying that the majority of Caucasians do not use washcloth. But
They just used this bar of
again,
soap.
they just use the bar of soap. That's like I
Oh,
said. This is what's going
alrighty
around.
then.
Like if you look if you look at if you look at social media, that trend is going on, especially on TikTok. There are people like going like, "Yo, what do you use in the shower? What do you use to wash your body?" And some people they just say a bar of soap. Some people say a washcloth. Some people say a poof. Different things like that. So
Mm,
again, that stemmed from not just the Chappelle Show, other shows showing the difference, like Trading Spouses, that shows the difference in what's going on in people's homes. So again, like I said, the Chappelle Show had his finger on the pulse of America, and
yeah,
and it just and that is what was so good about that show. So my next one, talking about the pulse of America, which is funny. This one was so hilarious. Dave Chappelle did a skit about Clayton Bigsby, the black white supremacist,
oh my goodness.
and this one came out before Chris, can you look up and tell me how many years before the Boondocks it was? So this one came out in '03, and I don't remember when the first Boondocks skit was dropped, but the Boondocks show I know came after the Chappelle Show, I believe. Either way, this show had Clayton Bigsby, the black white supremacist, and the premise behind that was this is a black dude, very old black man, who was raised thinking that he was white, and this happened because he was blind. So that's the funniest part about it. He actually did that so well. In this skit specifically, he used the N-word with the hard ER in it, and a matter of fact, he actually this is where a lot of white people were actually using the word too, and it was done like in the news store. I think it was like Frontline or something like that. So so it looks like
Frontline.
Yeah. So it looks like the Boondocks came out in November 6th of '05, and of course, like I said, this one came out in January of '03. So before Uncle Ruckus, the other black white supremacist, there was Clayton Bigsby. But then again, too, I don't know if the actual cartoon strip had Uncle Ruckus. I cannot remember because I remember seeing the cartoon strip for the longest time, but I can't remember if Uncle Ruckus was in there or not. However, it is just too funny that before. Matter of fact, here's something else that Dave Chappelle did on the Chappelle Show that I thought was actually kind of interesting. So everyone knows James Corden's Carpool Karaoke. Well, Carpool Karaoke started in 2011 with James Corden. This wasn't exactly a karaoke situation. However, Dave had, he was known for having a lot of musical artists on the show come on. And at one point, he actually has a skit where he's just driving in a car with Mos Def, and Mos Def is actually like rapping his song Close. And really, it was more of an introduction to the song Close because they, like he was just letting them hear it. And then so the whole time, that is one of the dopest scenes in that show is watching I called it Carpool Karaoke just because Mos Def was rapping that dope. That song was so dope. I love that song. So, but he was rapping that song, and it looks exactly like James Corden's Carpool Karaoke, but it's just slightly different, of course. So, and that's why I said it's not officially Carpool Karaoke, but that happened in '03, well before the 2011 first call Carpool Karaoke was out. But anyway, yeah, back to Clayton Bigsby. That skit was so funny because again, the whole time this black man was a white supremacist and using the hard ER in the N-word, and he couldn't see anybody. So at one point he pulls up to the car in the car, and like these white kids are in the car blasting this hip hop music, and then he's just like oogly boogly. He was like, and he was just saying all these racist words to these kids, and then the white kids, they're like, what? And then he was like, oh yeah, they were all happy that he was saying all this stuff to them. He didn't even know that they were just white kids. He just heard the music. He thought it was black people. So
I think the precise words were, did he just call us black?
Yeah, basically.
In the N-word?
Yeah,
cool. They start dapping each other up and all that stuff.
Yeah, right. So that was just too funny, like the way he actually did that. So and then in the end, like the whole time, every time he go, he actually had a handler who was a white guy, and then the news reporter asked him, he was like, "Why are you letting him do this and not let him know he's black?" And then he's just like, "Look, this dude is too important to the culture for us not to have him." He wrote all these books, and I'm not going to say the names of the books because the books all had the N-word in them.
Yep.
But it was really funny. He had written all these books and all that, and he did all this other stuff. So finally, up until he did the news story, then they went to this Klan rally, and not to mention that I said he was a white supremacist. He was also a member of the Klan, and they went to this Klan rally. And the whole time he had his hood on, and even his handler was like, "Hey, yeah, you might want to put your hood down and put your mask down and all that." He's like, "Oh yeah, good idea. I don't want them to know my face and all that." So he's at this rally, and then finally everybody's like, yeah, show us your face, and then his hand was like, no, he's not gonna do this today. And then Clayton was just like, nah, don't worry about it, Jasper. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it, Jasper.
Yep, see the light, and he takes his hood off, and all of a sudden everybody just freezes and it's
They are
silent.
shell shocked.
They are all shocked. As a matter of fact, one dude's head even exploded.
Exactly.
So that was amazing because, you know, if something like that was to actually happen, you know, like a black white, I want to know how white supremacists feel about black people who hate their own kind, you know, and for him to actually touch on that subject again, like I said, he was teaching you without teaching you, you know. And here's actually an actual funny fact: the exploding head guy might have been his writing partner, Neil Brent.
That was his writing partner.
That was okay, yeah.
That was his writing partner.
Yeah, so that's actually funny, man. That was amazing. I was actually tripping off of that, you know. So it's a trip seeing all these little different intricate little stuff like that. So, Black, tell me your next thought, your next skit that actually you are a big fan of.
All right. Yeah, my next one is, you know, and this character was very controversial as well.
Yes.
My guy, Tyrone Biggums.
Tyrone Biggums. Shazam!
Hey, your neighborhood crackhead.
Yeah. Go ahead and talk a little bit about Tyrone, man, and I'll go and fill it in a minute. Go ahead.
Well, you know, the first skit he did with Tyrone, you know, he's back in the day they used to have these classes. I don't know if you remember, Slim, but remember Dare? You know, to keep kids off drugs. Remember those those seminars they used to throw in your classroom and stuff like that? So it was like, you know, it was sort of like that, but instead of telling kids how to stay off drugs, he was telling kids how to access drugs.
Yes.
You know?
And do you know for that one, you know, for that skit, a lot of people were upset with him about Tyrone Biggums. There was a lot of people that was upset with him about that, and that was too funny. So
he said that I believe a lot of the issues is that he was not sympathetic to people who actually had drug issues, you know, or drug problems. You know how it goes.
Yeah, of course. And I think the thing about it was, again, not only was he making comedy, but he was also trying to teach people. You know, with Tyrone Biggums, he was making fun about the whole DARE program too, but he was also, you know, teaching them just basically the things that a lot of people with crack problems, you know, a lot of it was stereotypical, but most of it was not. Like the different stuff, the way some of those drug users at the time were, and you got to think about it too. He came up in a different age, so he probably, as a matter of fact, I believe he's from DC, so he actually saw some of this stuff firsthand. You know, so he's speaking from what he's seen. So you know what I'm saying. So people getting upset about it as a trip, but here's a funny little thing that happened. You talk about the DARE program. I didn't want to cut you off. So I do remember the DARE program in the school that I went to, and part of the reason why I will never forget this is because. So you remember the little book Mad Libs? You remember that?
Yeah.
So I got in trouble one time for writing Mad Libs because like me and my friends used to write them all the time, pass them around in class and stuff like that, right? Well, one time a girl in our class like annoyed the crap out of a lot of us. So we all like wrote some Mad Libs with her name in it. And she found out, got mad, told the teacher. Teacher raided my desk and took me to the principal's office. One of the very few times in my life I've ever been in the principal's office. Raided my desk, took me to the principal's office, and right before that, right when I was in the principal's office, they had a DARE program. The DARE person that came in, and I can't remember what's the name. No, that's not her name. That's not her name, Chris. But that's somebody. No, that's somebody else who actually. No, sorry. No. I'm not even gonna say her name. But anyway, but you know what? I could actually say her name because, like, I can say her first name. No, I'm not gonna say her name. Anyway, the principal, the teacher took me out during DARE, so I missed most of the DARE. But I came in close to the very end of the Dare teacher talking or whatever. When I walked in, and it was a cop, this person, and I'm gonna say that because I'm not using curse words right now. As soon as I walked past him, and then he was just like, he basically kind of used me as an example, and he was just like, yeah, he's like, don't, and I don't even think he said anything about drugs, whatever, but he just said something to the fact of, don't be getting in trouble like this person here, or whatever it was he said to that effect. And I really wish, I guess because I've been trying to forget about it, but I really wish I had remembered what this cop had said. But I'm just like, wow, you don't know anything about me. This is the only time I've ever gotten in trouble in my, in all 5 years. And I'm thinking of grades, in all 5 years, it's the only time I've ever gotten in trouble like this. And, you use me as an example in the DARE program. It's like, whatever, man. And yeah, but anyway, that was a little offside here. So it was a little side, but back to Tyrone Bigham. He actually showed up in another skit too, the Fear Factor skit. What do you think about that one?
He was in the Fear Factor skit, and he was actually in 3. It might have been more than that because I didn't really see the 3rd season. But he was in one where they had did an intervention for him.
That's right, the intervention.
They did an intervention for him, and as soon as the skit started, he was like, he's always late, but he'll be here in 3, 2, 1. He busted the door. Is this a 5 o'clock free crack giveaway?
That's right. Yeah, that was hilarious. That was so hilarious, man. And it was a trip. His escape, right? You remember his escape, right?
Yeah. He flushed himself down the toilet.
Right. So once he figured out it was a intervention because everybody talked to him and they was like, telling them it's like, you did this, and he got his real estate license to sell someone's house.
Yeah.
Sell the house. He like Rhonda. I forgot what he did to Rhonda, but it was so funny.
Yeah, he stole Rhonda's car.
He stole Rhonda's car. That's right. He carjacked her.
Yeah, he carjacked her.
Tyrone, he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Give me your car. The whole time, and he was just like, scratching, talking about. He was like, no, that's not what I did, Rhonda.
During the skit, she was like, that is you with them crusty lips.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so. The way he did it, it was true. It was too funny, and he acted pretty much exactly like what a crackhead, and I'm using that word loosely, but a crackhead would act. It's more than just a stereotype. Like I said, he's probably seen that firsthand, so he knows he has an accurate depiction of someone who's like strung out and basically trying to do anything they can to get to that crack. And he actually, what I was going to say earlier too, is he also had like a small little skit when Snoop was doing Deep Cover.
Yeah.
He was actually singing with Snoop, but instead of saying 187 on, he actually said on a rock, so anyway, that was funny.
That was pretty funny. But do you remember real quick, how the whole Tyrone Bigham skit come on? That was the funniest ever. It's
yes,
how it comes on. He's like driving a little kid.
Yeah, he's driving a little kid,
and he's putting like crack rocks on a peanut butter sandwich. What he calls it, a peanut butter and crack sandwich.
and then he's actually using the bathroom in the alleyway, and they actually zoom in on it at the end. Is really, if you look at it, it's a melted Snickers bar.
It's a melted Snickers bar.
Yeah. He actually talks about it. He's like, our prop guy's melted. He's like, I call him actually licking his fingers. That's funny. It was so hilarious having Tyrone on there, and that was another one of his major characters that he actually had. So one of the actual another funniest skit, I'm gonna actually just do a quick touch on this one because this one goes by stereotypes. Was I know black people? This one went on into different stereotypes, and it was almost like a Jeopardy setting, but it was really like one person at a time. But he actually had all these different people talking about black people, and he would ask them questions. Like one of them was can you finish the lyrics to the Good Times theme? And no one knew it, and then he was just like, "That's correct," because they was like, it was no one knew it. I don't remember all the questions, but one of the questions was, "Is pimpin' easy?" And then people was like, "Nah." Most people say no because Big Daddy Kane's song is "Pimpin' Ain't Easy." Well, at one point there was this dude as a barber. That dude. Oh, and then that just reminded me of another question he asked. I'm about to say what it is in a minute, but anyway, the barber. He was like, "Is pimping easy?" The barber thought for a second. He's like, "Hell yeah!" And he was like, "That's correct." But the other question he had, because the way this barber answered it was hilarious. He was like, "What is a chicken head?" And then
oh man,
yeah, and these other people, they're saying stuff like, a chicken head is basically a loose woman or whatever. They had some different versions of saying, a very, we're gonna say, friendly, excessively friendly woman. The barber, though, he came in, he was like, "Oh, that's a bird. Can you take it over there out?" It was like,
yeah.
what? So, that was hilarious. That skit itself was a trip.
I could tell you.
Mhm.
The question he asked was one of the most funniest ones that he had was he asked, "How can black people overcome?" And
Oh.
they're giving all these politically correct answers, and
Mhm.
then the cop at the end, she says, "Get out and vote," and it was like, "I'm sorry, that's wrong."
Yes. Yeah. Like one person was like, "I don't know." Ding, you're correct.
You're
Another person,
correct.
yeah. Yeah. And I think when somebody else was like, "By any means necessary," and he was like, "You're correct." And then the
You're
cop,
correct.
yeah, she was like, "But get out and vote." Wrong. Sorry.
Wrong.
Oh, that was a trip because just the different things that they actually says. But it was just these different questions that he asked all over the place, and they were all supposed to be yeah, they were all supposed to be all these different correct answers and all that, and some of the answers actually for some of them, I think it was more than one than that when people was like, "You can't," and then they ended up being correct, so they were the wrong answer, especially like that, like, how do black people overcome? It's like, you can't, so he's like, "That's correct." There was a lot of different ones where you would ask a question and you would think it's one way, and he was like, "Nope, that's correct." When they say the other way. So, I'm gonna jump in with another one really quick. Modern problems require modern solutions.
Oh yeah. That
Right.
one was fun to
So that one was a trip because that one was so funny, but that one was really political. If you look at the underlying tones of that one was really political. He was talking so one of the parts that he did was he was just like, modern problems require modern solutions. He was like, healthcare here sucks. So this is why we're gonna give every citizen a Canadian ID because in Canada healthcare is free. So you can go to
Yeah,
Canada and
that's
get
true.
treated. You know, and like I said, that's to this day, man. People still talk about the way healthcare is. So he was talking about that, and so the whole pregnancy issue. With the whole pregnancy issue, a lot of people, that's a major political issue. And so his way of doing it was like, we teach kids abstinence. He was like, how do we do it? We just have your principal and the and the weirdest, ugliest looking lunch lady make out and have sex in front of them, and let them see it, and we make sure they're greased up in the process too. And even though he was making a joke about it, it was serious because
Yeah.
he was talking about how people act, as far as, with these political issues. And, like I said, that's one of those things that actually he slips in on you. And you think about later and you're just like, man, that was wild. Oh, snap. I didn't even think about it. And that's the thing about it. That's one of the major things that I'm just like, yeah, that was slick. That was slick, dude. I like the way you did that. So anyway.
Yeah. He had a couple. You
Mhm.
remember the one he was he was pissed because because "Oh, I didn't vote for Bloomberg, so I'm smoking out. I'm smoking outside because they took away the right to smoke inside or whatnot."
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
anyways,
yes, right. He actually
he's
walked
going
on
all the way
stage and
back. He
said,
says, "Man, Nixon is effing up."
"Yo,
What I'm
yeah,
saying? He
right,
goes all the way back.
yeah, exactly." Yeah, yeah. He was like, yeah. He kept saying it all the way back to Master. Master's
Oh,
effing
yeah.
up. you know, he's like, he said that he's like, yeah, I got a history of political dissent in my family. Yeah, and he went all the way back to the island. He was like, yo, what's that ship over there? He's like, and then the person on the ship in chains. Man, I messed up.
I messed up.
yeah. So, um, what's your next favorite skit?
I'm gonna go with Wayne Brady,
Yes,
and we talked
yeah,
a little bit about Wayne Brady earlier, but
yeah,
yeah, the fact that getting with other comedians, reaching out to other comedians, man, having it on his show, he was known for that. So
yeah,
he got in touch with Wayne Brady, and Wayne Brady at that time he had this thing about him. He was it's like he was loved by white folks a lot. I mean, they really
yeah.
loved him. So I can remember just going off on the side a little bit about Paul Mooney and his skit, and he asked me, he
Yeah.
says that he had it was Negro Damas, if I'm not
Yeah, yeah.
mistaken.
You can actually go ahead and go into both of them. I see you actually
Yeah,
have Paul Mooney up there. So go ahead
You
and
see
go
where I'm
over.
going?
Yeah, right.
So anyways, he asked, he says on Negro Damas, he says he has people asking him questions. So one guy stood up and he's like, Negro Damas, why do white people love Wayne Brady so much? And he says he says he says white people love Wayne Brady because he has he makes Brian Gumble look like Malcolm X.
Yes, yes. That is too hilarious, man. That was so funny too, because the funniest part about it is Wayne Brady wasn't comfortable with a lot of that too,
Oh,
but
he wasn't. He wasn't.
yeah, but it was too funny, especially with that episode. I mean, so even the whole Paul Mooney skits, because he actually had Ask a Black Dude first,
Yeah.
Paul Mooney skits, and then he
Yep.
actually had Negro Damas, and then and he also had Ask a Gay Dude too with Mario
Mm-hmm.
Cantone, you know.
Yep.
So that part about it, and again, it playing into stereotypes. People will actually ask like questions about stereotypes of the black people and of gays. He actually was straight up on the pulse, man. He was straight doing it, and then that Wayne Brady episode was hilarious. I mean, just different Wayne Brady. Even when he rolled up and what is his name? Donna Rollins. He was like, "Oh snap! It's Wayne Brady,
It was
son."
Wayne Brady.
Yeah, the Wayne Brady was like, "Break yourself,"
Yeah.
Yo. So tell me, what was your favorite part about that Wayne Brady skit? Like just the overall.
Just the little training day thing they had going on. That was funny as hell. I'm sorry, it was funny because remember he says, yeah, I didn't know you like to get wet, Dave." They're doing the whole
Yeah,
training day thing.
yeah, yeah. So and the funniest part about it was the whole skit came about because of that joke from the Negro Damas joke. That's really why Wayne Brady, and it was actually the flip side. So the whole flip side about it was Wayne Brady really wasn't that nice, even though
Yeah,
everyone really knows Wayne Brady is nice. But
yeah.
Wayne Brady was showing a different side of himself. That he was to kind of like calm down from that joke. He was just like, nah, I'm not really nice. I'm really gangster. He was actually even like prostituting them, and like had some prostitutes out.
That was
So
funny. That was
yeah,
funny because
he's like,
you know how that came about, right?
what's that?
Yeah, I don't got no man. I don't got no money, man. I gotta go to ATM. I
Right.
don't got no money. I'll get some money.
Yes, the ATL, yeah. So that was hilarious, because he rolled up and then the girl, she came up with like just $100. He was like, "Wait, hold on, Mr. Franklin's a little bit lonely." He was like, "I try to be nice." He's like, "Is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke?"
Gonna have to choke.
He said something different, but he's like, "Is Wayne Brady gonna have to choke?" And then he's like, "I try to be nice, but they just keep saying." And then Dave Chappelle was just like, he's like, "No, we ain't gotta worry about it, man. Don't, no, it's all good. I'm good. He's like, "You sure?" He's like, "Man," he's like, tell Wayne Brady. I mean, he said, tell Dave Chappelle, thank you. You know, and then she's like, thank you. It's like, run.
You gotta go get some help.
Yeah. So that was so funny, you know, and it was too funny the way that all happened, and also too, I talked about Mario Cantone. So one of the people who asked Mario Cantone something was actually Dee Snider from Twisted Sister.
Yeah,
And I
Twisted
think there
Sister
was also somebody else famous in that skit too, but definitely Dee Snider was the one. And you know, like he was like all bending down in front of her, or whatever. He was like, I wouldn't, you know, he's like, oh yeah, and then he was like, you know, like doing that whole
Yeah.
thing.
He says you tease.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, the Wayne Brady was so iconic because again, it was the flip side of what that skit had talked about. That skit was just like, you know, I mean not that skit, I'm sorry, but the Paul Mooney skit, you know, and Wayne Brady's showing that, but Wayne Brady was also funny because Wayne Brady is actually pretty funny. No matter what anybody says, you know, Wayne Brady's really funny, you know, and he can sing. And then, matter of fact, the whole singing aspect of it, when the cop walked up, he was just like, he was like, "Oh yeah, you're Wayne Brady," and then he was like, "Yeah," and he pulled out a microphone out of nowhere and he started singing, "Save a Little Prayer," and then the cop was like, "Oh man," he was like, "My wife ain't never gonna believe, or my family's not gonna believe this." He was like, "Yep, they never will," and snaps the cop's neck.
He snapped his neck.
Oh, so a very, very iconic. And you know what? I'm gonna go into yeah. All right. So the last couple of ones I'm gonna go into, I'm gonna roll through quickly because we're actually running up on time very fast. We rolled through this.
Oh yeah, no doubt. 47 already.
Yeah. Right. So the racial draft, and that is so timely because that skit hit so hard that now if you go on social media and you see somebody doing certain things, there will actually be a racial draft, different stuff. So like, there's this little girl on TikTok, and she said something. Her like one of her family members recorded her saying, "I'm a strong black woman," and because of that, it was like I said, it was a little white girl. Because of that, there's actually like a TikTok, a racial draft TikTok about that little girl. The different people will say, you know, we the black delegation will actually like to do this and do that, you know, and then like somebody else will come on behind them and is like, well, we the white delegation will trade you this girl for this person, but we want to be able to invite it to the cookout and different stuff like that, you know. So that's what I'm saying. You know, these have so much different cultural things involved in it that it's even hitting cultures today. It is 2024, and there are still people talking about racial drafts after this, you know.
Yeah.
And it is so funny, you know, like, you know, Lenny Kravitz was drafted into the Jews, you know. Tiger Woods was drafted into the blacks. He was like, I always want to say this, the shizzle. You know,
yeah. That was pretty funny.
Wu-Tang Clan was drafted into the Asians.
No, Chris, Slim, go back to Tiger Woods. Remember what he said at the end? He says, "I'm just so happy to be here.
Yeah.
So long, fried rice. Hello, fried chicken."
Yeah, yes, you know, and then it was so funny. Oh yeah, and then I think it was Dave Chappelle, and then he was just like yep. And with that, Tiger immediately lost all his endorsements. And then he just said tough break, you know, saying with the N word.
Yeah, tough break.
Yeah. So that was hilarious. That was so funny, you know. And one of the Hispanic delegation, they drafted Elian Gonzalez because at the time, you know, that was like not too far after that stuff happened, and they was like, wait, he's not even, you know, he's already Hispanic. Like, what are you talking about? He was like, yeah, we just wanted to do that before the white people take him. You know.
Again,
so that was too funny. So, but going into that, and this is something I wanted to talk about because, like I said, he actually had people of all cultures talking about using the N-word, and the average amount of people weren't angry. The average black people thought this was funny, you know, and it didn't bother us. And I'm saying us because, again, it didn't bother me, you know. You have to actually, I'm not even going to go into that. But anyway, yeah, it takes a little bit more for that to bother me.
Right.
But this one that he had was actual in season 2 was the N-word family. And I'm saying the N-word family. The whole family's last name was the N-word. And so the different things about it was so funny because like he came in and he was the milkman, Dave was the milkman, but it was the N-word family was a whole white family, and the family looked like it was a family from the 50s, I believe. And so
Yep.
like even one point, they go into a restaurant and like he was like N-word party or two, N-word party or two, and then he walks up, Dave and his wife walks up. He's like, "Look, man," he's like, I'm here to pay my money just like any other person, And, I was like, and then the young guy, he was like, "Oh, I'm the N-word party or two," and he was like, "Oh, it's you," So, and there was just
it's you, little N-word.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? And so, that was just actually, really funny that he was able to actually do that. And then, like even one point he was just like, right before he was just like, "All right, enjoy your dinner." He was probably just like, "You probably get a better seat than any N-word has ever had gotten." and he was just like, just the different things that he said to them. Even like when he was coming in and he was delivering milk to the family, he kept like dipping his head in at one point. He was just like, "N-words," So that's a skit that I believe people need to watch because I'm tired of people being so sensitive about that, And yes, the N-word is a negative word we can go into and all that other stuff like that. But like I said, there's a whole lot, and that's why I said I don't want to go into that aspect of it. But it's so more so to me is he was trying to show people how stupid that even the people who try to use it negatively are, and there's so much different stuff about that I want to say, but like I said, I don't want to get into that, because that's just the
I've got just one little small thing to say though, not to cut you off, Chris Slim,
good.
but remember Lawrence Fishburne and Deep Cover. When that movie first started, the dude was asking him, "What's the difference between the N-word and a black man?" And Lawrence Fishburne said, "Well, was somebody who would even answer that question." And ever since then, it stopped bothering me. When I first saw that, I'm like, he's totally right.
Yeah,
he's totally right.
Yeah, and like I said, there's so much there's so much to it, and that's why I said I can get into it so deeply, but I'm not.
Yeah.
But my final skit that I like, is Knee High Park. So Knee High Park was a spoof on Sesame Street, but not so much Sesame Street too as like how they use puppets and things to show kids, hey, stay off of drugs, don't do this, don't do that, and whatever. And it was like a heightened version of all of that. It was so crazy because, they had talking gonorrhea. Talking
I
venereal.
remember that.
Talking venereal diseases. They had a dude who stuck himself with drugs, and the puppet stuck himself with drugs, and he was like all foaming at the mouth, his eyes were all red and everything like that. It was just crazy, and like even one of the puppets pulled his pants down, and they actually showed like an anatomically correct puppet. It was wild.
Yo, that was crazy, bro.
Yeah, and then Charlie Murphy's puppet. I forgot what the name of that puppet was, but that puppet's song was just insane. It was just talking about F it, and then it was that was too fun. So, that scene right there was amazing, because there's just so much to it with that, because that one I don't see it as much of a lesson. Like that one was hilarious in the fact of how he's showing how all these people, they try to use different things, different ways to teach kids, and some of the stuff just got out of hand. Like honestly, have you ever seen Mr. T's it was almost like a PSA movie. I cannot remember that. I really wish I knew. It was like Mr. T's Be Somebody. That's what it was. You ever seen that?
No, no, I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh, man! Look it up when you get a chance. If Mr. T's Be Somebody, they even have Mr. T's rapping in that, and it got to a point in the '80s where it was like, okay, yeah, these kids, they need something cool to kind of inspire them, and they were just getting really out of hand with it. So that was pretty much the end of where I had with it. But one thing I did wanted to say though, there's little tidbits I wanted to add too, like the singing Pretty White Girl. Do you remember that from episode 2?
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
she was
definitely.
actually, her name is Erin Hill. She was actually a harpist and she's a singer songwriter, and she's performed with many artists. Like she's actually more well known than I actually knew. So I had looked her up and prep for this. So that was wild. I was like, what? So that was just crazy. Also for the reparations episode in episode 4, he had talked about Juneteenth at one point
Mhm.
because he had a character who looked like Al Roker. And
Mhm.
he actually mentioned Juneteenth, and it's so funny because he's ahead of his time because now Juneteenth is the actual holiday. So
Yep.
there was just so many different little things about this show that make it such a cultural sticking point that it was needed. It was the show that no one knew that we needed at the time, and it's so sad because for the most part, Dave pretty much kind of had like a small, I don't want to say a breakdown because he actually said he didn't have a breakdown, but he talks about it, and it's so funny too because he had an Oprah skit and he ended up talking to Oprah later too. But he talks about it, and basically he talks about what happened, and he was just like, he was working all these hours, and he had all these issues, and he had did so much work for it, and it just wasn't, he wasn't feeling it, and there was so much different things that took him out of it. He loved doing the show at first, but then after doing the show, like he even at one point he actually hated the show. So
Mhm.
after season 2, he ended up signing this major deal. I think it was like 55 million. He signed this major deal, and he didn't even like I think he had he only was able to do 2 episodes, and then he actually has 2 bonus episodes on the Blu-ray disc. But he did these 2 different episodes, and then it was like a third episode, and there was this one skit, the Pixie skit. He he the skit itself, I remember the skit, and the skit itself is basically what took him out of it. When he was doing the skit, he wanted everyone to laugh at one thing, the absurdity of everything, and people weren't getting the message. And when he felt people weren't getting the message, they were laughing at the wrong thing. That's when he was just like, it took him completely out. He was done with that, and that Pixie skit was like the nail in the coffin for the Chappelle Show. You know,
Mhm.
and matter of fact, even in season 3, the couple episodes, they had Donna Rollins and Charlie Murphy. Yeah, Charlie Murphy come out,
Yeah.
and they did the introductions and talked about it a little bit. And they even actually asked Donna Rollins, "Don't you feel like you're kind of betraying Dave a little bit?" And Donna was like, "Look, man, I gotta work." He was like, "If Dave had
Yeah.
actually talked to me about it, I would have kind of backed him up. But I don't know what's going on, and I gotta work. This is about my career." So there was just so much involved in that it was so sad that, and I think at one point he even said like his writing partner was talking to the network behind his back.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah, and he was really, at one point, he was really upset with Neil about that. He just he didn't like the excuse that Neil gave, and they actually, it was really bad. It just got really bad to that point. You know, they had been riding together for so long together, and because of that, in the end, they will never work together again. They're friends now. They had a falling out. They're friends now, but they will never work together, and that's really sad because, like I said, they were writing partners on Half Baked and other things. And something
Mm.
else, a little tidbit about that. Um, they actually vowed to never tell who wrote what skit. So, like no one knows who wrote what skit. They wrote together, but no one knows who came up with what skit for that show. So that was just really, really, kind of sad about that. Like in the end, the end was, it was almost like a drop off, and so many people, that hurt so many people in the culture and everything. So, either way, if you haven't seen the Chappelle Show and you heard what we were talking about, go watch it. It is such a funny and beautiful show. It touched on so many different things. I really love doing my rewatch. Unfortunately, they only have the first 2 seasons on streaming. They don't have the third. You can get it on Blu-ray, and like they actually have bonus episodes on Blu-ray, so you can actually watch that. So please get it, watch it, share it with other people, because again, that is so culturally important, because and for a weird way to say it, he brought harmony to our culture for a little bit, again, because people from all races and all sexuality, different things, were laughing at the stuff that he said in that show for whatever reason. So anyway, so we're gonna cut it off right here. And again, we do have some good things coming up soon. I'm talking to some people, some guests are gonna be coming on the show soon. So Black, you got anything you want to say before I start going into like the socials and anything?
Yeah, just one honorable mention. I can't believe I left this particular episode of Chappelle Show out, but the Mad Real World. I just had to say it. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah. So the Mad Real World was amazing, and the only reason why I didn't say the Mad Real World is because I thought you would. But the Mad Real World, hilarious, because it just touched about the real world, and it's so funny. In that episode, he had somebody from the real world, that dude singing that song, "Come on, be my baby tonight." That was hilarious. That he actually had, his name is David something, but he actually changed his name now to something else. So it was I don't remember. Just type in Dave from the real world, and you'll see what his name was. But anyway, the Dylon, so this is what actually triggered this episode too, is talking about the Dylon spitting hot fire, and Dylon even talking about now. Dylon was like, "I've never even said that." I'm like, "Come on, Dylon, we know
you said."
Yeah,
I'm sorry, didn't mean to cuss, but he said it.
Yeah. And what's also funny too, is that that whole Puffy and the extra, Puffy being eccentric now, like, well, not now, but I mean, all that Puffy, like the way he acted as Puffy then, and now the way Puffy is, whoo, that's all that's coming into play now. But anyway, well,
yeah, it's crazy.
Either way, if you want to reach out to us, you can reach out. You can email us at toldmywifepodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Instagram at toldmywifepodcast. You can find us on Facebook. I told my wife I'm paying bills. Just hit us up. Inbox us. Let us know anything that you want to hear from us. Anything you want to see. If you want us to play any games, just kind of give us some feedback, positive feedback. We're all about positive feedback here. So, yeah, I'm still like the whole Dylon thing was the trip, and like I said, it's tripping me out, especially with the whole puppy stuff now, though. But anyway, please, hit us up. Let us know, like, subscribe, share. We're on most podcast platforms now. You can find us even on iHeartRadio and everything like that too. So that's dope. We got a YouTube channel coming out. Once we build up the following a little bit, hopefully we can actually go ahead and start doing some live sessions. We probably can do live. We might go ahead and just do some straight video recording. I don't know yet. But like I said, let's go ahead and build that podcast following up first, and see. So please like, subscribe, share, all of that. And we're gonna keep coming out with more content. So until then, I'm Slim,
and I'm Black. Signing out.
And we want to say thanks for listening, everybody.